Hi, I'm the Multifarious Fisherman. This is Seven Fish, and we're indoors today, unfortunately. I don't know what this hand gesture means. I prefer not to film inside if I can avoid it, although obviously we've seen this background before. And unfortunately, it is currently necessary. I have contracted the COVID-19 virus, so we are staying indoors. We are doing our best to prevent the spread. Still trying to keep to my schedule of posting, although to be honest with you, we may falter at that at some point. Not feeling terribly poorly. I just, you get tired. It's a little bit tough to stay focused and be, as evidenced by my pause there, a little tough to stay focused and be as dedicated or diligent about producing content. So apologize if we miss a Friday or Tuesday. It depends on recuperation, and I've got some other medical things that I need to be conscious of and more diligent about. Pertinent to that COVID situation, you may see videos where we're not masked up and hiding inside because our timelines aren't necessarily linear for our videos. Some of the footage may be from a while ago and some of it may be from very recent. Some of the stuff that's filmed now may come out in the future. So, I've got footage still that was shot last year before all this COVID stuff. So if you see that and are curious, that's the explanation of it. So today we're going to talk about ice fishing. We're going to talk about staying warm on the ice. This is a heater made by a company called Mr. Heater. It's the Buddy heater. They have a number of them. They have a small one that just mounts on top of a bottle. This one, which is a single burner device, which a bottle mounts into the side of a 1 pound can. And then they have a Big Buddy, which is a double burner unit, twice the size, obviously, of this one. Can mount two 1 pound cans. The two that don't mount on the can, the Buddy and the Big Buddy, they will also utilize a larger propane source. You do need a hose for that, so this is meant to hook up a 1 pound can and will not hook directly to a bigger can, but you can do it with a hose. Mr. Heater offers those hoses. They do recommend you use theirs. They're going to also recommend you use a filter or moisture trap, which is also available through them, to keep from blowing stuff into your heater and plugging up the little corridors for the propane to pass through, because that's problematic. This one I purchased to replace a older Mr. Heater cooker that I had received from an acquaintance of mine. The heater, though effective, it kind of gave me a headache. That it would make me a little nauseous. I didn't care for that very much. These are listed as being indoor safe. The heat source is radiant. There's no forced air or anything. All three of them are radiant heat. The older versions of the Big Buddy used to have the ability to put some batteries in them. There was an internal fan, it would force the air. They don't make that version anymore. If you have an older Big Buddy, there was the ability to push some air out, a little forced air, and that would get the heat out of them a little bit more efficiently. But if you're not heating a big area, if you're doing something like an ice hut, these are perfectly effective. For me, honestly, I'm turning them on and off all day. I don't want them running all the time. I don't get that cold or stay cold typically when I'm out there. And plus, if you're dressed, appropriately, you're going to be stripping clothes off with that heater running. When we fish with Z, he tends to run his heater quite a bit, and Kid is a little bit less affected by gravity than I am, and therefore a little bit less naturally insulated, let's say. Simple to use. They have a pilot situation here where you can turn it to the pilot light. If you depress that, you'll actually create a spark, which is what lights that. And then, of course, you let your gas flow with that. These have a low and a high setting, basically, from I think 4,000 BTU to 9,000 BTU. The Big Buddies, you can run anywhere from 4 to 18 because of the double element. Personally, I like the little guy. I have a very small hut. Like I said, I don't like to run them that much, and I just don't need the size, the bulk, or the heat from the big boy. An ancillary tool for these, most of your huts are taller than you need, really. A lot of people want to buy a hut. It's like, oh, I want one I can stand up in. You're really not standing up in them for very long, but But people want one, you know, tall enough to be able to stand up and walk around in. Essentially what that does is give the heat someplace to be that's not actually heating you, because you're going to be seated 90% of the time, 99% of the time that you're in your hut, you're going to be seated. So the heat goes up and it hangs out up above your head where it's really not doing you any good. Battery operated fan that you hang in the top of your hut to push air down. And what that'll do is mix the air so that the warm air isn't just pooling above your head in the top of your hut. What it's doing is circulating air, mixing that cooler air down below with the warmer air up above and creating a more even temperature throughout the hut. The reason that this is a good tool is it has two sensors in it that will shut this unit off. One is it has a low oxygen sensor. So if the oxygen in an enclosed hut becomes too low, this will shut itself off, which means it's not going to go out and leak gas out. It's also not going to make you goofy in the head. The other thing that can cause this thing to turn off, it has a sensor in it. It's called a tip over shut off. So if you got kids in the hut or the left-handed hunter or something, and they bump into it and knock it over, it's going to shut off. As soon as it exceeds a certain angle, it's going to shut itself off. That's a good thing. It's a good thing to know that it does, because I have been in huts where I've set it down not level. Some of the older huts had molded plastic bottoms, and if you set that thing down and it won't start, make sure it's level. Something to be aware of. It's a safety feature, it's a good thing, but it is something to be aware of if you are having difficulty getting it lit. Another thing to think about with these is where you put it in the hut. The front of that still gets it. They radiate heat. They get pretty warm. If you run a really light monofilaments, we run a lot of 1 or 2 pound tests. If you get it close to that heater, it's smoking that. So you don't want to get any of your line or anything real close to that heater. That fluorocarbon monofilament, even braid, will melt in high heat. So if it comes close to the front of that or touches the front of that heater, you're gonna be done. It's Buddy Heaters, big fan. There are certainly other options on the market, and we may or may not get into that down the road, but hopefully maybe you've seen the Zippo hand warmer video. That's a great tool. Something I use when I'm outside of the hut and inside the hut if I need it. Handy tool that you can keep the heat kind of inside your suit. Hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoy our content in general, and hope you forgive me if we miss an episode here or there because of, situations. We do try to put out a video every Friday and Tuesday. Tuesdays tend to be shorter tip videos. Fridays tend to be longer fishing videos, but we vary from the construct from time to time as well. Appreciate you joining us.
Burning my leg.
I can smell it. There's a legit burn in your leg. Let me see your pants.
Oh, they be smoking it.
Dude, I could smell it.
It's getting hot. That could have been brutal right there.